Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, I'm Emmy.
Hi, I'm Logan.
Hi, I'm Sean.
We are CPFA alumni, and this is Winging It.
My day job, I teach CPR as well as medication administration. I also teach kids theater. I direct and choreograph, and I'm always doing something in theater.
Yeah, I am a ballet teacher. I teach very little children ballet, and I teach slightly older children musical theater, tap and jazz stuff at the Petit Pas Ballet School. And I also do a little bit of choreographing for youth theater and local high schools, currently working with Ruston High School on their show the past few years. And so, yeah, lots of dancing all around.
Fun fact, I've been choreographed by Hannah at CPFA.
Yes,
Wow.
that's true. Back when we were doing shows online for a year.
Yes.
There was a play, and the lovely Brigitte Rotman was directing
Yay.
it. And she asked me to choreograph a couple pieces that were in that play. Oh my gosh.
Small world.
Throwback.
At this
Yeah.
theater.
Yeah.
Which also makes me feel really old.
Sorry. No, you didn't.
You were
I've
so
never met
little.
Hannah before.
You were so little in
Who's
that.
Hannah?
Yeah. Oh, I love Brigitte so much.
Yeah,
and
I love Brigitte.
Queen.
yeah,
Hello, Brigitte.
Mama Rotman.
Mama Rotman,
Mama
from
Rotman.
being like a mentor and teacher when we were all kids to being like a very dear
Yeah.
friend
Yes.
now,
Yeah.
and also still a mentor.
Yeah, in every
Yes.
way. I am currently a double major in dance and theater with a concentration in musical theater at Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey. I do theater as much as I can, as you can tell by my chosen major, and I work at Whole Foods on the side.
Nice.
I had a little bit of a different track than these lovely folks here. Upon graduating from PALCS, I joined the Marine Corps. I did 5 years there. Just got out this year, actually. And now I am a student at Westchester University studying musical theater.
We all just did Into the Woods at SALT. That is where I was reintroduced to Hannah, officially met Logan, and actually for the first time met Sean. So that is why we are all sitting at this table.
Yeah.
It was cool because we had like we all come from CPFA, and like I've known well, I actually have not known of you before I met you, if I'm actually being so honest.
It's really cool. Not even on the alumni wall. Wow.
Oh, I love the alumni wall. But yeah, it's cool because like we like found so many like different jokes between our different generations, but also some things that have like run through the generations and all the years, which is cool.
Yeah,
So
because a lot of the teachers there are still there
Yeah.
from you, like, so having those like shared experiences and was really cool to talk about, like, oh, how is it different now versus, and that's mostly like us too, Sean, because I think that's the biggest gap of time between any of us.
no.
But just being like, oh, what are things like now that are different versus when we went there, and then a lot of the things that are the same that we can all like bond over.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
When Emmy graduated, you have to memorize every single person that graduated before you's name.
Oh my gosh. That's actually like not untrue though, but I will say the yearbooks at that point in time, they used to have senior pages where it was
still
just
do.
like, that's so cool because I remember that is how I like learned a lot of the time what everybody was like going off to do after CPFA, because even though we had senior send-off was always like an emotional time for everybody to reflect on their experience at CPFA. So for us to like learn about what people are doing after they leave high school, we pretty much just followed the yearbook. And I still go back and I still look at that, especially because of what my senior quote was. I quite
Do
often
share.
So I was obsessed with Beyonce, so it was I sneezed on the beat and the beat got sicker.
Anything for you, Beyonce.
Anything for you, Beyonce.
Anything for you,
Bring the
Beyonce.
beat in.
And I've always said that.
Yes, absolutely.
SALT Performing Arts is a theater company in Chester Springs. They've been around a while, a little over a decade. They definitely prioritize like the spectacle and bringing like big productions and production value that you don't normally see at other community theaters, which is really cool.
Check out Salt 2.0 with that video wall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
they've been doing a lot of upgrades lately, like sort of as like a decade anniversary thing that they're really like upping the stakes. But I will say their main like mission statement though is very community based and to build a community is the priority, and the vehicle through which they do that is excellent theater. That's what our artistic director Lauren McComas always says. But the main goal and the first priority is community, and a excellent byproduct of that is the theater that gets put on.
Absolutely. Hannah has been with SALT probably the longest. I just started this year with Sweeney. Like I said, I did work for Stage Light in the past, but Sweeney was my first show.
Yeah, I joined SALT in their second season with The Little Mermaid that they did back in 2016. So that was while I was a student at CPFA. And I've done, I want to say, at least one show every year since then. So I think at this point I've done like 14 or 15 shows there, but I'm kind of losing track.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's lots of fun, and I love the people that I found there, so it's always fun to go back and do another show with some of my best friends.
Yeah.
This is my first SALT main stage. I did a Stage Light production of Grease with Hannah also choreographed. Yeah, and then I did a fundraiser for SALT 2.0, Echoes Across Eras, A Glimpse Behind the Curtain.
2018 was my first SALT show. It was Newsies. And then I've done, I want to say, I'm in Anastasia right now, and that's my 7th SALT show, I think.
Nice.
So yeah, been doing it for a little while now.
Newsies was your first?
Mm-hmm.
That was before Secret Garden?
Yep.
Oh, I had that mixed up in my head.
Yeah, it went Newsies, Les Mis, Secret Garden.
Nice.
We're learning so much about each other.
Yeah. I had known about SALT for a while. Now, when I went to college in New York. So I only found out about SALT through my friends who still went to CPFA that went and did shows there. But when I moved back in the area, because I graduated college during the pandemic, I was more prioritizing like making sure that I had stable income and the whole 9 yards with that. So becoming a teaching artist and maintaining an income through that was how I used my musical theater degree, and then in turn continued to do things with theater in general, and doing that through Stage Light and things like that. But I wasn't sure what I wanted my like breakthrough show to be with SALT. I knew there would be one eventually that I would wind up auditioning for because so many people that I knew were there and had great experiences. But then bucket list show has always been Sweeney Todd. I wanted to be some of those rats in those streets. So I was like, this is it. This is what I'm auditioning for. And haven't looked back since.
Yeah, after PALCS and CPFA, I did not go to college. I applied to a whole bunch, and I had my list of acceptances and rejections and was looking at them. And at the time, nothing was really making sense for me, so I decided not to go. And my first job right out of high school was at Hillendale Elementary School. I was a personal care assistant, so I had a student with a disability that I would go to school with, and just make sure that they had everything they needed to succeed. Because I knew I loved working with kids. I had experience working with people with disabilities because I was a ski instructor for people with disabilities since I was 14. And so that job sort of like fit all of my interests and skills except for performing.
Sure.
But then doing a lot of shows at SALT was great because I needed that artistic outlet. But it was also very exhausting because the job that I had was very like emotionally, like I had to be so invested in that job. And then leaving straight from there, driving to SALT, having a rehearsal till 10 or 11 p.m. and then doing it all again the next day was a lot, but I was like, it's worth it. I do love this job that I have. And I need performing to like sort of, even though it's exhausting, it does give me energy to be performing and doing something that I love. But then I had the opportunity over the summer to start working for Stage Light and choreographing. And I was like, oh, this is a job that also, you know, fills me up artistically. So it could be both at the same time. That's great. So after a few years, I left the job at the school, worked for Stage Light, and then also got a serving job to like supplement on the side. And then when I got the job at Petit Pas, lost the serving job, and then was doing, so it was, every job had like overlap.
Right.
So now I was doing stage light, and I was teaching ballet at Petit Pas, and now Petit Pas is pretty full-time, which is really awesome. And I am so happy about it.
I came to CPFA when I was in 7th grade, and it was almost like there was a lot of overlap and crossover between CPFA people and SALT people, hence this
table.
Yeah. And so it was like, once I was like, you know, at CPFA and making friends with people back in my wee little 7th grade self, I was like, oh, I like, everyone's talking about SALT, like, oh, and so it had always been something I was, you know, aware of. And over time I started to like kind of like trickle into it with Grease and the fundraiser. And then Into the Woods is my favorite show of all time. If you know me, you know it's just in my head always.
Built-in dramaturg right here.
Absolutely.
And I saw that they were doing it, and I was like, well, I'm going to be commuting to school, and that would work out really well because I am starting as a dance major, and I'm adding the theater major for my second semester. So I was like, well, to keep myself busy and to keep my momentum going out of CPFA, why don't I do this? And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made because I found such a new community through it. And yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what SALT was. I'd never heard of it, nothing like that. And then I want to say we were in rehearsals for Little Shop. And Brigitte,
At CPFA.
Yes, at CPFA. And Brigitte comes up to me, and she knew how much I loved Newsies. She knew it was one of my dream shows to do. She was like, hey, this theater that I do stuff at is doing Newsies. You should come audition. And I said, okay. And so I went and I auditioned, and I got the role Davy, and it was a great time. And it was just kind of just one after another after that until I left. Then I came back, and it's just been one after another after another. I was in 3 shows concurrently at SALT.
And now we're moving on. What brought us all together?
In
the woods.
The woods.
The hair. Anyway, what role? Okay, so I was the witch. What drew me to the role, if I'm being completely honest, it was Last Midnight. Like I said, my first show with SALT was Sweeney, and it was a bucket list show for me. And although in some world, in some production, I do foresee myself playing Sweeney at some point, maybe.
Yes, I want to play Love It really bad.
Okay,
I
so
would pay
we'll talk.
so
Okay.
much money.
But one of my favorite songs is Epiphany, and the absolute cuckoo mental breakdown that is. And Last Midnight, funnily enough, Sondheim wrote one for The Witch, and that is what I wanted. That's what drew me to the role. And I went into that audition, Witch or Bust, because I had the ambition of working with one of my students. And although that didn't work out, The Witch did. So that's what drew me to that role. That's what I wanted. And then in turn, when I found out who else was auditioning, I was just like, and I want to be with my friends.
I played Lucinda, which is super duper fun because I have been in Into the Woods before. I did it at CPFA. It was a student-run production. Shout out to John, is a fantastic
Who is still working,
guy. Yes,
TikTok famous.
working. I think is
Yes.
currently, I want to say, in Japan or
I'm
China,
pretty sure
somewhere
it's
like
Korea.
Yeah, well, he's
Korea.
doing a world tour of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory right now, so
Big
it's
swag.
super cool.
Just made his Mike TV debut.
Yeah, yes, he did. But when he was a senior, he directed, choreographed, and was the narrator in the Woods. And that was a super cool experience. I was Little Red Riding Hood in that production. And I was like, this is a show that I would do over and over and over again until I've played everybody. So I can check Lucinda off that list. It was super fun. I got to do it with a very good friend of mine. So just our energy together being sisters
Infectious.
was
Yes.
so much fun. And every little bit that we got to do was, we were just having the time of our lives.
Similarly to Hannah, I just did in my senior year at CPFA in our honors musical theater class, our end of the year project for our theater and film festival was selections from Into the Woods, and we did like a good chunk of it. We did more of it than we did not. And it has always been that was surreal because I have always wanted to do it at CPFA, and I've always thought about like my class in it and like, oh, like this would be really good for us, and etc. And then Sophie Gore decided to do it for our end of year musical theater that year, and that was really cool to get to experience. And Cinderella in Into the Woods has always been a dream role of mine, and I got to do Steps of the Palace for that, and it was just such like it felt so full circle as well, because my first introduction to Into the Woods, sorry, we're going on a little bit of a tangent, but that was in my freshman year when in musical theater, we were doing a mock audition unit, and it was like, oh, we're auditioning for Into the Woods. And so I hadn't known very much about it. I had heard Steps of the Palace before and was like, wow, that's a crazy song. It doesn't even sound like a melody. And then I watched the movie, and Anna Kendrick's performance had me genuinely gobsmacked. And I still like channel that and cherish her performance and have like really like idolized it. But anyway, that's enough of that. So I got to do Steps of the Palace, and that was so surreal. And I also got to do Florinda. So in a way, we're sisters.
We are. I love that.
And,
Amazing.
I've always said that.
yeah, because we were like switching in and out throughout different roles in the whole thing. It was a mastermind creation of Ms. Gore. But so yeah, and then Into the Woods at Saul, I was like, well, Cinderella would be ideal, but I don't and so so I played the steward, which was really fun because I had also just played Caldwell B. Cladwell in Urinetown at CPFA, and I put in my opinion a fun little spin on the character. And
Little spin.
Little.
You stole the show.
Well,
You did.
That was a
steal the
fun
show.
little fletch.
So, yeah. So I've found like this little, I don't know, I like to try and like twist characters on their heels into what people aren't expecting.
Absolutely.
And I
A good actor
found
would.
a way to do that with, stop it.
It's that CPFA training.
Yes, pre-professional training in the arts.
Absolutely.
And I found a way to do that with the steward as well, which was also pretty cool because I also found like, you know, it feels like, oh, like it's the steward. It's the steward. But when I like genuinely, I did find some deep moments that he or like one that he has because he. Well, I don't know if I should spoil the show. That's been out since 1986.
Yeah, that's on you if you haven't seen it yet.
He kills someone in the face of danger because she's like yapping to a giant, and so he kills her to get her to stop so the giant doesn't kill them all.
That was my mom.
And then
We haven't gotten
sorry
to
about
it yet.
that.
You know
Yeah,
that, right?
you can't. Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
That's the spoiler.
Yeah.
Jack's mother.
As if we could ever forget.
I found so much more to it than I expected to. And yeah, it definitely like gave me an extra little leap through my growth, as I think anything does. Yeah.
I played Jack.
What?
No.
But unlike these three, I knew nothing about Into the Woods. I had never listened to it. I had never seen it. Nothing. I knew nothing.
And like we said, that's on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I kind of just auditioned on a whim. I wasn't originally going to. And I said, why not? And I got the role, and it very quickly became one of my favorite roles that I've ever played. A lot of people like to play Jack as just like this like dumb, stupid kid. And he's not. I mean, he is dumb. He has his moments though. He has his moments though. Yes.
Moments.
But yeah, I knew
Every moment
nothing
is a
about it,
moment.
and it was we did something special with that show.
And also, one of our coworkers.
Yeah.
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Yes.
Lindsay.
Yeah, she
was
was
our Cinderella.
Yes.
Cinderella.
So, I'm so sorry about that, John.
I know. No, it's okay
And
because it was Lindsay.
we've
It's
come
okay.
to forgive her, so it's fine.
Over the course of that rehearsal process, it took some time.
We said, oh, actually, she's fantastically talented.
She is.
So obviously, I think rehearsal process versus performance is very different.
Yes. Very different.
The rehearsal process, I mean, it's like, for lack of a better way to put it, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. I mean, we have our call, we have what is expected of us, we know what the agenda is. I mean, because at the end of the day, you have to be off book, right? So we all found things, I think, to like fill the gaps of when we weren't being utilized, but pretty much towards the end of the process, you're going. And then with like the performance schedule and everything like that, I mean, tech week leading up to it, you're there every night. You're doing it over and over again, which is wonderful. I mean, I would never look a gift horse in the mouth with that because everybody needs the rehearsal process to put on the best production possible. But it's, like I said, a lot of hurry up and wait during those rehearsals of like being at beck and calls and just filling your time. And I mean, we all found bits. And that's part of the reason.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like that time in between being actively in a scene in a rehearsal is where we sort of like
found each other,
find our jive with each other, and we
really
come
sweet.
up with all of these bits that we're constantly quoting to each other, and almost a, you know, every show has its language.
Sure.
It really
I think,
does.
and we have found ours, and then I think that what you develop during the rehearsal process is what gets you through the shows and the long days, because then we just have this connection with each other, and we like know how to get through it, and we always have something funny to say to one another no matter what the situation is.
Well, and that's what I mean, you said the thing about the long days, but then you also put into it that after the first weekend of performances, then we don't see each other. As we're waiting for the next weekend to come along, we don't see each other for 5 days, so we're like 10 days on seeing each other nonstop, and then we have 5 days of just nothing, and it's that closeness that we develop that is what reminds you of not just the show and enjoying the product, but oh my god, I get to see my favorite people again next weekend. And it's crazy then, because then we get to the last day of the show and we're all like, so pull out your calendars, when am I gonna see you next? Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, like let's figure this out, because it is the camaraderie. And it's not just the CPFA people. I mean, it's
everybody.
There are plenty of people that are just permanently in my life now. They're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere.
We had a good amount of like salt newbies in this production.
We did.
I feel like there was a lot more than and it's like the camaraderie, and it's like the uniqueness of it, because like if you heard the bits that we said, they don't make sense.
They don't.
They're
It's
not
like,
supposed to.
They make sense to us.
It's like such like a deep like underneath language that like you all get and no one else would, and it's what makes the whole unit work.
Absolutely.
I know like everybody does the index card thing where you like write down your index cards, but I was given a tool specifically for Shakespeare that has carried over into everything that I do now, of instead of writing out your full line or anything like that, you put the first letter of each word in your line, and then you write the next person's line. One of my students, I used it on for an audition monologue that we picked during that acting session, and by the end of the session she was completely memorized because we just put all of the first letters on a whiteboard, and we created like a vernacular of like, I mean, sometimes those first letters spell out interesting things like bayab. This is bayab.
But
Yes, exactly.
Bayab.
Okay, this is the
And I've
bayab
always said
part.
bayab.
I've always said that.
What does BIAB stand for?
Couldn't tell you, couldn't remember
All
the
right.
model. Oh,
But
actually,
you are better.
Yes,
And-
exactly.
Come up with one.
But what is
It's
Yeah.
I shall but love thee better.
exactly.
Okay.
I've always said that.
But it's like that thing, because then when you're looking at the index card, you're like, oh, this is the Mayab line. Okay, got it. And I'm able to, instead of having to sit down and read all of my words, I'm just like, okay, and I'm back in it. So that's been helpful. Learned that in college, was specifically for Shakespeare, but I've applied that to literally everything, and now I'm able to memorize a monologue in like 10 minutes.
I'm stealing that.
But I also feel like thinking about it from a big picture perspective.
Absolutely.
Just being like, well, what's happening? If you're really
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about
yeah.
what's happening, it'll come to you. When I'm on stage, I have a tendency to be like, oh my God, I forgot all of my lines. And then the scene just keeps happening and I say them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I never think that I know it. But I think that's, if you're in the moment, if you know what's happening, you know what your character's going to say next.
Yeah.
Right? Because you know it at least well enough.
Correct.
That like when your cue line happens, you're like, I have a response to that.
Sean and I had an ongoing bit. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
but
that's
we had an
so fine,
ongoing
I'm
bit before I came out on. Well, I would go out on a stage one time for Into the Woods, and we would be standing backstage, and I'd go, "Am I gonna remember my lines today?" And we would just look at each other, and the first line I said, we would just say it over and over and over again to each other, and then when I went out on stage, I would remember it, and then I'd come off and be like, "I remember those lines. Did I say them?" And he'd be like, "Yes," and I'm like, "Okay, great, all right, good." All right.
This time.
This time. Who knows what's happening the next time?
Yeah.
So for me, whenever I'm memorizing something, I always kind of I like to break it down into sections, whether it be a song or a monologue or anything like that. It works best with like speaking lines. Songs are different, but if I'm ever doing like a monologue or something, I'll take it and I'll break it down into sections. And I'll say, like, take section, say it's 3 sections long. I'll take section 1, and I'll say it over and over and over and over again till I can do it without looking at the paper.
Sure.
Then I do the same thing with section 2, and then I put them together. And then I do them together over and over until I can do them without looking at the paper. And then I take section 3 and I add it on. I memorized a 2-page monologue in like 40 minutes doing that.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
that's mainly what I use.
Our music director asked me to learn one of the songs that was cut from the show with like a week to prepare for it, so that we could perform it with my Rapunzel. And I remember I'm the type of person that will just listen to things on repeat, and even if I'm like going about my day, like it'll just be playing in my ears. And because then the melody will just get ingrained in my brain, and if I can be on book for it and I don't actually have to memorize the words, then like the melody's just gonna come out, because it's been in the back of my mind just playing 8 hours a day while I'm doing my work at work, of just memorizing it. And I'm just like, okay. And eventually we'll get off book for it, right?
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I do for music. If I have to learn it, then I'm going to be listening to it while I'm at my desk at work.
Yeah.
I believe it was Jared Ben would always
Oh,
say.
Jared
Jared Ben.
If we're going back a little bit to previous theater teachers.
That was my theater teacher.
Yes, and mine, and yours for a year.
For a year.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
I
Okay.
had Mr. Ben for 1 year.
Jared.
Was one of the things he always said that I apply it to everything, and I still say it, but then my students don't know that it's a quote from somebody, is repetition is the growing power.
Exactly.
Yes.
I say that all the time.
I forgot about that.
I have always,
I've
said,
always
that.
said that.
Well, Jared Ben has always said that.
Jared
That's
Ben
so true.
has always said that. Correct.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
And thank you for that, Jared Ben.
Thank you for so much.
Thank you
Yes,
for a
thank you
lot.
for
Thank you for that.
everything.
But
Thank you,
also
Jared
thank you
Ben.
for
I didn't have you as a teacher, but thank you anyway.
So that leads me to something that I was going to say in terms of just like life, but also performing. I am somebody who I thrive in a stressful environment, and I love when busy. I love when busy.
I love
Yes.
when busy.
I love when
Busy.
busy.
But something I always say to myself is it's going to get done because it has to get done. And even if it's something that theoretically in the grand scheme of things doesn't have to get done, I'm going to get it done because I've said to myself, it's going to get done because it has to get done.
Absolutely.
And that's part of like the memorization thing. But like once I've committed it to myself, once I've committed to a bit, it's going to get done because it has to get done. And I think part of that is because of my guidance from Jared, my 3 years at CPFA, for sure.
Yeah.
Sort of with the music thing, especially with Sondheim, he and especially Into the Woods, and especially the like prologue, the music is written to sound like talking. In a sense, it's supposed to follow inflections that your voice would take. And if you go in and you listen specifically, you can kind of make it out of what this would be sounding like if it were speaking. So it kind of goes hand in hand with learning lines, because it's like, okay, normal inflection, but you're also singing it, so it makes it easier. And there's a little back and forth with that.
Absolutely.
As far as line memorization tactics go, Jason Greenfield taught me both of these. The index cards, you write your scene partner's line on one side and your line on the other side. But also, if you ever need to do a monologue, you split the monologue up into each complete thought, and then on the other side you would write as if you had a scene partner, what your, like, a question that your line would be the answer to.
Sure. We also did, like, in college, we did like colloquialisms with that though too, of like, we called that chunking it out, like when we put it different complete thoughts. But then especially with Shakespeare, if like you didn't if what was being said didn't fit in your vernacular and what your colloquialisms were, then you rewrite it in how you would say it.
Yeah.
So that way, when you go to say the line, you don't get tripped up on how the character is saying things. It's how you would say it in your mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you have a default character that you get generally cast as?
A typecast.
Yes, a typecast.
Love a good typecast.
I mean, I'll go first. Yes, any kooky, crazy character. I will always be that. I am a self-labeled, but also, let's be so for real, character actor. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
That said, that's because that's what comes easy to me. But then the follow-up question after this one is, what are some more challenging skills? I love Shakespeare. And although there are clowns in Shakespeare, more often than not, if I'm doing Shakespeare, I am the serious role. And that is because I love it. And I take it so seriously because Shakespeare is like boot camp. Sorry. Triggering. But it is mental gymnastics, and I love a good I'm a Gemini. I love a good mental gymnastics.
Say I'm a gymnast.
Yeah, I was like, oh, prove it. Do a flip.
Do a flip. But it's crazy how, depending on the type of theater, what is on the horizon for me. But yeah, I'm always gonna love a character. I'm always gonna love something that not only allows me to be me on stage in a lot of cases, but also something that is just generally the most fun role on stage. That's where you're gonna find me.
Loving the character is really interesting because it's sometimes it can be a challenge when you're playing like the antagonist. You have to.
You got there.
First try.
Got there eventually.
You have to, find a way to justify them for yourself to a certain degree. And I've always said that. You have to find a way to justify a character whose actions normally you would not really be a fan of. And you have to find a way to kind of get yourself into that headspace so that you can portray it convincingly. So love for the character is really important, but can also be a challenge in and of itself. You should always be playing a character that you love, but sometimes you have to act to find that love for the character.
Sure.
Absolutely.
For a while, I was like the lovable sidekick in a sense to most things. I would agree with that with the steward. I think that.
Yeah. You made
Depending
him
on
a
the-
lovable
I
sidekick.
did.
You did.
Yeah, I did.
You really did.
Us befriending each other on stage was a highlight of the show.
Yeah.
Yes, lovable sidekick.
Yeah, when you first mentioned that question, I was like, oh, I don't feel like there's a pattern with any of the roles that I've had. But then I was like, dancer. That's sort of like when I'm doing musicals, that's sort of like being a dancer is like, okay, well, that's the part you're going to play. Like, I'm not going to get put into like a traditionally park and bark role. Because I'm a dancer, so like that's a more valuable thing that I bring to auditions. And thank you for that, Erica Spear.
Yes, thank you, Erica Spear. Thank you, Lisa Carey.
Which is so funny because when
Correct.
And Miss Duncan.
Yes.
I will say, when I came to CPFA, I had never danced other than 4 years old ballet at the YMCA.
Slay.
I had never danced, but I was like, oh, well, I like musical theater and I want to be in musicals, so I guess I should learn how to dance.
Yeah.
And I took one tap class and I just was like hooked from there. And now it's like most of what I do, which is crazy. And I talk to my students about it all the time because I'll have like a 10 to 12-year-old who's like, I'm not a dancer. I can't dance. I can't do it. And I'm like, how old are you? And they're like, I'm 10. And I'm like, okay, well, you have 4 years on me. Like, I didn't start till I was 14. And I just had really good teachers.
Yeah.
And yeah, now it's like my whole shtick. And I love being the dancer. And then also, just like kooky characters, especially with Into the Woods. It was just,
Yeah.
I got put with a scene partner who I was like not afraid to have a crazy good time with. And
I will never
was-
get over you just running face first into the wall every show.
I did that. I do love physical comedy. I want just a little sprinkling of physical.
Yeah, because usually they're linked, and I think it's like like you have to you can't have one without the other. But their scene partner it was hard not to break, and I did.
And you were partnered with them for the majority.
Yes,
of the show.
because I had to, and then we did the raffle at
Yes,
too,
that's right.
and that was improv trying not to break.
Yes.
Yeah, we would go out into the audience during intermission and like sell raffle tickets.
Freshly blind.
Yes,
Yes, in the show.
I got blinded at the end of Act 1,
So did Bailey.
which is why I ran into a wall, which Logan was talking about. I just clarify there, that wasn't
None of this makes sense.
for fun.
Look deep into the camera. I ran into a wall.
I ran into a wall. So then just like not being able to see and trying to like talk to audience members,
That's
and
so raffle
there was
tickets.
so much to.
And I would come out. And
It was a great big improv exercise.
I would come out and like usher them around and be like, "Nope, there's nobody over there. Look to the look to your right."
Talking to empty chairs.
Yeah.
And
So funny. I feel like I typically get casted just from past experiences in the more like innocent boyish roles, or like kind of like the dorky roles, I guess you could say. Because like Jack, he's boyish. When I played Dick in Secret Garden, boyish, kind of like a nature dork, in the kindest way possible. I love Dickon so much. Davey, being the brains of the operation in Newsies. I'm trying to break out of that. I'm trying to break into like more like the
And what was that one more time for the people in the back?
You see him too, right?
But yeah, just like try to break into like the more of like the less boyish roles, I guess you could say.
But mother, I'm a man now.
I'm a man now.
What are you talking about, Jack
Not
Act
in
2?
the head.
No, they can't know that she's his mother yet. That's a spoiler.
That's a spoiler.
Spoiler.
Start us off. How did you find your way to CPFA?
Oh goodness. My mom saw like an ad for it somewhere, I think, or one of like her friends' kids went there. I can't remember. And she was like, "You should check it out." And I was like, "Okay." So I did a little bit of research. Little 8th grade me. I was like, I like this. And I got bullied relentlessly in public school. So I said, that's my people. And so I went and auditioned. And I think for my audition song, I want to say I sang Sound of Silence.
The Simon and Garfunkel song?
Disturbed version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I sang that for my audition.
Nice.
Hello, darkness.
My old friend. I guess this is goodbye, old pal. Full circle.
Full circle. But yeah, I want to say that's how I found CPFA. Performing has been just such a big part of my life, my entire life. It's what I love to do. So it was definitely a very big draw for me.
I think this is really funny. I didn't have my eyes set on CPFA when I came to PALCS. I had my eyes set on the Minecraft Club. And I never joined the Minecraft Club.
What? Wait, you have to tell me more about this because I've never heard about the Minecraft Club.
Sean is real?
When I've
Never been sure of that.
What is the Minecraft Club?
I don't know because I never joined it.
Wait, it was just like a PALCS club?
Yes, there was a PALCS Club, and
USP CPFA, the
The Minecraft Club. Put that one on the resume.
It was
Yes.
on like their website. Oh, like come join our school, enroll. That we have these programs. We have a Minecraft club, and it was. I don't know if it was student organized, but
Yeah,
it was.
like
I would
meet
hope so.
online? Did it have an
They had
in-person
their
meeting?
specific server. It was like a specific Minecraft server, I
Oh.
believe. I don't know if it still exists, but it. He's
We're
like, we're fact
looking
checking.
into-
What if I was making this up?
Yeah.
So I saw PALCS and I was like, Minecraft Club. That's what I need, and so I went to PALCS. And my mom was like, because I was like, by that point I was like, I want to do the arts, and my mom was like, they have a performing arts program you should audition for, and I was like, fine, whatever.
When did you join PALCS?
Seventh grade.
Seventh.
Yeah, so I didn't
okay.
start. It would be funny if I joined PALCS in 6th grade, did the Minecraft Club, but didn't end up doing the Minecraft Club, and then was like, I guess I'll do CPFA. No, I've only been at PALCS for I'd only done 6 years from 7th to senior year.
So
And
that's
Yeah, you were
the
longer than-
longest
You're
in
the
the
longest
script.
of all of
I'm the
us.
longest out of all of
Yeah,
you.
I started in 8th grade.
9th.
sophomore year.
Oh my gosh, bing bang boom
Oh
bombs.
my god.
Big boom. PALCS makes it possible.
Wow,
We
look at that.
counted.
Counting. I learned that about
I learned counting.
in the 8th grade.
Yes. Yes.
And I've always said that.
School. I was in a brick and mortar public school near my house. I got really good grades, but I wasn't like enjoying it. I didn't have much motivation for anything except for going to rehearsals for the show after school. I would have like the worst day ever. I would have no energy and like a terrible headache. And then I would go to rehearsal for the show and it would go away.
Yeah.
And I was having a really hard time feeling like that was enough. That like, not to be like kind of dark for a moment, but like I was feeling pretty desperate about this. I was like, I feel like this is the only thing that I'm living for, and it's such a small portion of my day and of my week and of my life. And my mom was rightfully scared by that. And so she started looking into schools, and she had a friend whose daughter went to CPFA. So thank you to the Beasleys. And so I just did songs like from the show that my middle school was doing, because we were doing Music Man that year, and I was playing Marion, and I was like, great, I'm gonna sing Goodnight My Someone. And I walk in there and I sing it, and Lisa Bennett, the
Queen.
vocal music teacher, she was there, and I was like, oh my goodness, I know you, and you just saw me in this show last weekend, because her daughter was going to school with me, like at my brick and mortar middle school. Yeah, Zoe and I went to middle school together.
Love
Oh
that.
my god.
Yes. So I was like, oh my goodness, they're gonna think that I like didn't prepare anything, because I just sang her this song that she saw me do on stage 2 minutes ago. But it's all right, guys, I got it.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. But yeah, I was really glad that like really changed my life.
My parents got me into dancing at a very young age because the doctors told them to, because I have sensory perceptual disorder. So I actually wrote my whole college essay on it. But they were like, you need to put her in something that's going to work her hand-eye coordination, that's going to get her motor skills working, the whole 9 yards. So I started tap dancing when I was 3. And then at 7, my mom was like, well, she's danced for many years. Why don't we try theater? And then I have never looked back. My mom will to this day tell the story of like, I got up there to audition. She was like, I don't know how this is going to go. And I started singing Hard Knock Life like it was the ABCs. So never looked back. So I knew from 7 onwards, I was like, this is what I'm doing with my life. Somebody I had been dancing with forever. Her name's Kelsey Riker. She is also a CPFA alum. Her parents talked to my parents because I was still doing community theater with her. Her parents talked to my parents and were like, this was the best change we ever made. Let's give it a go. So the middle of my freshman year, my parents started to really seriously like buckle down and look into things. So it was either CPFA or LVPA up in Lehigh Valley. Either way, they were like, we're going to make this happen for her. We're going to commute. Someone's going to take her to school and we'll figure this out. And then it just it coincided so well that PALCS was online as well as CPFA being in person. Because like I said, I started my sophomore year and you're 15, turning 16. And that meant I needed to get a job, especially if I was going to be doing this for a living. I needed to start learning what having money and income in addition to doing the arts looked like. So I was working full-time at Panera at 16 years old, doing PALCS in the evening, going to CPFA on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I pretty much was, like I said, working full-time, being a student full-time, and again, never looked back. Auditioned for college and was like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I'm making a go of it.
And that's the thing. It's like, at least anyone I've talked to is like CPFA has changed my life, and I would not be
Yes.
who I
Yeah,
am without it. And
absolutely.
it's true. And it's like, I know who I
100%.
am because of CPFA. I know who I'm not because
Because
of
of
CPFA.
CPFA.
And it's something that's genuinely, truly valued and pretty unanimous as far as I'm aware.
I do want to add in, because we were talking about this before we even like dove into any of these questions, but I've truly met some forever people at CPFA.
Yes.
I mean, Jared Ben. I worked for him straight out of college for his youth production company. I worked for him, Brigitte, like we've mentioned. There are forever people. And I wanted to touch on this because my senior year, Hannah's freshman year, she played my kid. Like she was my child. And now we've crossed paths again. And I'm like, yes, forever friend.
Yeah.
Like she's there. Forever
Yeah.
people.
And like something we would say a lot, like something my friends and I say a lot is like, oh, you fell out of touch after high school. And I'm just like, when? I mean, granted, I'm only, so far out of high school,
Yeah.
but like, I truly, like, it gives you such, like, I want to say community, and that's true, but it's also like, even though I'm not constantly in conversation with the people that I went to high school with, I'm still connected.
I didn't realize until I got to CPFA that I could actually not just make progress in the things that I was doing, but I could actually learn about them. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Absolutely.
Like it wasn't just I get up and I become a better singer because now I've sang this entire score for the past 2 months and now I
Yeah.
know this score and it's in my repertoire. It wasn't that. It was you are studying, you are learning, you are doing everything that a typical student does about history, about math, about geography, except like I know all of the cities in Indiana because of Music Man. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's so many things like you are learning. You aren't just practicing.
It gives you
Yeah.
the time for it.
And
Yes.
like the techniques and stuff that we focus on, that it's like skills that help you be a
Yes.
better actor, performer. Not just doing it over and over again. Like the expertise that we got from those teachers is like really interesting stuff that I still
Yes.
think about.
School supplies, desk.
Oh yes,
Does that count?
yes.
Tourist attractions, Disney World.
I
Amazing.
love that. I can't.
School subjects.
Um,
Dance.
dance.
yes, CPFA. Spices and herbs. I almost said Dooman like human.
Shout out Dooman family.
Shout out to the Dubins.
Circle back. Cartoon characters. Daffy Duck.
Okay.
Slay.
Donald.
Things found in a hospital.
Dishes.
Dead people.
Dead people. Amazing.
Hannah.
Magazines.
Daily Planet from Spider-Man.
Amazing.
Wow.
Slay.
Wow.
Product
Is that
a
names.
Disney.
Sure.
That's
What?
a brand
Disney
name.
technically-
No, product.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Ooh.
like a
Diva Cup.
Nicknames.
Nicknames.
Davy.
Davy.
Yep.
Slay. Footwear. Dance
Docks.
shoes. Docks. Slay.
Docks.
Things you sit on.
Desk.
Desk chair.
Desk. Yeah,
Desk.
desk
Desserts.
chair.
Desserts.
double chocolate cake.
Of
All
course.
right.
Say it again.
Things that are
Things
found
that
in the ocean. Doom. Dorsal fins.
Yep,
dorsal
dorsal
Things
fins are
you
in
shout.
there.
Doom.
Darn it.
Video games.
Video games.
Doom.
Doom.
Doom is a video game.
Things in a grocery store.
God.
I should know this.
Oh,
You worked at one.
That's so true.
yeah. Like,
Oh shoot.
wow.
We did not.
We got
not
14.
do
I feel like we did a bad
Nope, we did not
job.
get-
We have a second
Yes, we did.
round.
We got 14. Unless we're counting Dooman as a spice. Shout out to the entire Dooman family.
out
That was a
entire
part of
Dooman
Into the
Every
Woods.
family.
single one of them.
I started and I was like, oh, I'm an actor. I never thought I could be a dancer. There are so many people that I looked up to and take inspiration from for like just the drive to be able to do the things that I have now achieved. Yeah. And CPFA has provided that. And it's just the rigor of the classes. Like I did not think that I could be where I am. And it was like, oh, like that. Yeah, that would be great. But it just doesn't work. But it does as long as you put forth that initiative.